Some memories feel really clear, like they just happened. Others are softer, a little blurred around the edges. Today's prompt is faded photograph, and I'm thinking about the images we carry inside us. The ones that don't shout but quietly shape who we are. Even the faded memories still speak. Some just whisper in sepia. Hi, I'm Gajana. Welcome to day 14 of the July Junk Journal Challenge 2025. This series is a quiet daily practice of creative reflection hosted by Leigh at Leigh Creates. Each video invites a gentle moment of noticing through crafting, journaling, and a little therapeutic pondering along the way. I'm filming this from my mother's flat in Germany, working only with what I packed in my suitcase from New Zealand and the little treasures I have found tucked in her drawers. The limitations have made things feel unexpectedly alive and a little personal. Today's page started with a conversation. There's a small gallery of family photos in my mother's living room, and one of them is a baby photo of my grandfather. I had seen it many times before, but something about the way we were talking that morning, about history, about the people we come from, made me see it differently. And when I looked at today's prompt, faded photograph, it felt like the photo had chosen itself. I also found 3 delicate little present tags in one of my mom's drawers. They are punched with lace-like edges, a heart, an oval and a rectangle, all small and sweet. For now, I'm pretty sure I will set aside the heart and the rectangle and use that oval one as a kind of tuck-in pocket that will partially hold the photo journaling card. I noticed that today's journal base already has a white scrap attached to it. It looks like it came from a coloring in book. The lines are soft and simple, and it reminds me on the coloring in book scrap I had before. And I remember I still have my small set of metallic watercolors from New Zealand. So I used them in this page earlier, and I like to bring this back here for a sense of cohesion. Here you can see it's like copper and 2 different types of gold. And with my watercolor pen that is actually holding the water, it's so beautiful for traveling. I start gently painting this scrap here, starting from the inside, really carefully letting the shimmer settle into the lines. Doesn't need to be bold, just noticeable. And while doing this, I'm sitting with the little photo in front of me. There's something about faded photographs I find that steers the soul. Maybe it's the quiet texture of time they carry. Maybe it's how they hold the outlines of a story, even when the details have slipped away. I think we all have images like that, not just in albums, but in our minds, like blurry edges, soft shadows, echoes of feelings, and we don't always know what to do with them. Sometimes we try to restore them, sometimes we leave them tucked away, but sometimes it's worth pausing to see what still speaks from within them. Not every memory has to be clear to be meaningful. Old photographs, especially those of family, carry more than faces. They carry questions. Who were you, really, when that photo was taken? What happened in the years around it? What was never said aloud, but is still quietly felt? The photo I'm working with today is one of my grandfather as a baby. There's something about baby photos that always make me pause. They capture a moment before we learned to filter ourselves, before we knew how to pose or perform properly. And that unguardedness, that's something I wish we could carry forward. In therapy, we often explore memory not as a perfect recording, but as something alive. Shifting, changing, memories hold emotions, context, desire, sometimes even protection. They fade, not because they are unimportant, but because our minds are always choosing what we are ready to hold. So when something resurfaces, a photo, a smell, a line from a song, it might not bring back a full story, but it might steer a feeling that still deserves attention. Not everything has to be remembered clearly to be honored deeply. And while I'm finishing painting the little scrap, I find myself reaching for the oval tag as well. Its delicate border seemed to ask for the same soft shimmer. So I decide to paint it too. That gentle glow ties the pieces together in a quite cohesive way. It catches the light when the angle is just right. Subtle, but unmistakable. And maybe healing is a bit like that. Not a spotlight, not a breakthrough, just a shimmer of presence, enough to say, yes, this mattered. A way of honoring something that doesn't need to be explained, to be held with care. The photo I'm working with today is of my grandfather as a baby. He would grow up to become a young man during the Second World War. Both my grandfathers did. That history shaped them, and it shaped the people who shaped me. This isn't just about his story. It's part of my mother's story, and by extension, part of my own. We often carry the outlines of family history without even realizing it. And maybe part of the work, creatively, therapeutically, and as a human being, is to let those outlines soften, to bring a little shimmer to the places that feel faded. Not to erase the past, but to hold it more gently. Not everything that lives in our memory is fully visible. Some things arrive like whispers, and yet, when we offer them just a bit of light, a little color, they come alive again, not loudly, but truthfully. And now that everything is dry, I can start arranging the page with the oval, with the gold border here, the beautiful baby photo of my grandfather. I actually made a color copy of the photo and backed it up with coffee-dyed paper. So I feel okay to cut it down to size. This way it fits into my little journal here and becomes a very precious journaling card. So I decided to round the corners and of course distress the edges with my Distress Oxide ink just a bit so they don't feel too sharp. And as I do, I'm thinking of how we soften our stories in much the same way. Not by removing the edges, but by tending to them with care. And as I move into placing these pieces on the page, I notice how much time I spend not committing, just playing. Moving the oval tag here, trying to find a place for it. Unfolding the journal, just testing combinations, arranging the photo, seeing what goes where and how I may be able to decorate the page. And somehow that feels like part of the process too. Sometimes the first arrangement we try doesn't sit right, not because it's wrong, but because something in us is still unfolding. And the more I allow myself to move slowly, the more I see the emotional tone of this page beginning to emerge. It's not just about design, it's about resonance. And this baby photo, this little black and white echo of a life, feels like it wants a quiet kind of reverence. Nothing too bold, nothing too fussy. And the fact that I'm working with found supplies from my mother's cupboards makes it feel even more layered, like generations are quietly showing up to collaborate. At this point, I realized I didn't bring my usual art glitter glue from New Zealand. The glue stick will not hold the tuck spot securely. And so I'm contemplating stapling it to the page, but after rummaging through my mother's kitchen drawer, I found something even better under the circumstances: double-sided tape. It's a reminder that sometimes the best solution is simply the one you have. I use the tape to attach the tuck into the page. I cut it in half because I don't want to lose so much of this little oval shape just here at the bottom. And to my surprise, it still is very, very sticky, even though I am sure it is ancient. Like, my mom can't even remember when she got it or what she ever used it for. But I am very grateful that she was holding on to it and that I can use it now. Okay, let's see if it is easy to peel off. Yeah, look, it's even that. It's not, because sometimes I find when double-sided tape gets a little bit older, it can be very hard to peel it off, but this one here is fine. So I can just glue it down. Beautiful. Of course, I ink the edge. And I decide to reuse the lower part of the photo that I had trimmed off earlier to decorate this tucking. Just a small detail, but I think it adds a layer, like the memory echoing through the entire design. And for that I can use my glue stick, because it's just paper on paper. And now tuck in my little journaling card here. It's a little bit curved, so let's curve it the other way so that it sits flat. Oh, I love it. I love that page. I think now I need to glue the prompt and the day label. I think I would like to have it next to the photo. I think that will anchor this piece. And yeah, when we look at the faces of those who came before us, it can be easy to romanticize or to distance ourselves from them and their lives. But somewhere in between is a softer path. I think we can acknowledge. We inherit more than appearance. We inherit ways of coping, narratives, silences, and sometimes these stories live on in us without ever being spoken. Crafting like this can become a gentle excavation, so to say. Not to blame, not to glorify, just to notice. What's been passed down? What are you still carrying that might not be yours to hold? So here's an invitation for you. Is there a memory or even just an emotional snapshot that feels soft around the edges? Something you haven't looked at in a while, or maybe haven't known how to? What happens if you sit with it gently today? No pressure to understand it fully, no need to fix anything. Just a pause, a breath, a simple I see you. If you like to take a moment, write it down or create around it or simply honor it with your awareness, because sometimes attention is the most loving thing we can give to it. And the phrase I chose today says, even the faded memories still speak. Some just whisper in sepia. And not everything that's important will be bold or loud. Some parts of us arrive softly. And when we learn to listen with curiosity instead of control, something tender begins to unfold. That's what this challenge has offered me. A small daily ritual of listening. A chance to look in, to hold space for the quiet parts of life that still want to be seen. And here's a close-up of the finished page. The baby photo, the shimmering border, the hidden journaling space. It's quiet, but it's full. And that's something I often reflect on. Not all memories need to be loud to be alive. Some just need a place. And this little page, built with old glue, borrowed tags and a faded face, has become that place for me. Thank you for creating with me today. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like, comment or subscribe for more slow, meaningful pages. I will see you again tomorrow for day 15. Until then, may your memories be held gently, even the faded ones.